Welcome to New American Mythos. As you know, before the season begins, we are releasing a few short bonus episodes. In this one, I want to take a moment to speak directly to parents and families who might be listening. This podcast is about America's old stories, the ones that shaped our imagination, haunted our forests, and left their fingerprints on our national character. Some of you may be thinking about sharing these tales with your kids or listening together as a family. This little bonus episode is for you. So why do we tell these stories? Most of the stories this season involve the supernatural, ghosts, witches, haunted places. But I want to point out that they're not exactly terror stories in the way that modern horror movies are. The people who told these stories weren't trying to shock or traumatize anyone. They were trying to teach. Their tales warned about pride, greed, betrayal, or losing your faith. They reminded their communities that choices mattered, that covenants mattered, that forgetting God or neglecting duty carried consequences, very serious ones. So, while the stories may feel eerie, they aren't gratuitous. They're actually moral maps, and that makes them useful for families today. There are different kinds of stories this season. Some are more historical, like The Gray Champion, which dramatizes the courage of colonial New Englanders standing up to tyranny. Some are more religious, like The Minister's Black Veil, which digs into the question of hidden sin and spiritual honesty in a community. And some are more intense, like The Wendigo, where the wilderness becomes a stage for something terrifying and otherworldly. Each story has its own flavor. Some are playful, some are solemn, some are chilling. Together, they give us a wide picture of the early American imagination. Let me make a quick note on language and content. Some of these stories use words like Negro or Indians. That's simply how people spoke at the time. I don't change those words unless, like in a few places, there was actually an outright slur that was used. I think it's important to hear the stories as they were actually told to understand how our forefathers lived. One or two of the stories also have some light cursing. When that happens, I'll give you a heads up at the beginning of the episode so that you know what's coming. Again, my approach here is to tell the stories faithfully and to preserve as closely as possible the language as they were written. I trust parents to decide how to handle that with their own kids. And here's why I think that matters. These stories connect us to the larger story of America. A story that is flawed, noble, tragic, inspiring, and everything in between. The colonists and early settlers tamed a land, built a nation, and established something incredible. If we edit away the parts that are now considered quote-unquote politically incorrect, we risk losing the full picture. But when we hear the stories as they were, we're reminded that our heritage had its failures, but it had a lot of triumphs. It wrestled with judgment, duty, fear, and hope. And so do we. For kids especially, that can be incredibly powerful. These tales can be a way of saying, you are part of a bigger story. A story that's older than you, bigger than you, and worth remembering. So, parents, thank you for letting me share these tales with your families. I hope they spark conversations, questions, and maybe even a little wonder. If you'd like to get updates as new episodes release and hear about the bonus material we're creating, join our mailing list at ironscrewpublishing.com/new-American-mythos. And of course, you can subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss an episode. The first story arrives soon. Until then, may your lamp stay lit, and may your family's stories keep burning bright.